Hey, welcome to Therapy Matters. I'm Claudiu Manea and I'm the second greatest therapist in the world. Today we will talk about how to tell your kids about Christmas. What do you tell your kids about Christmas and about Santa Claus? So if you ever wondered how you're supposed to approach this whole subject, stick around because we'll try to get to the bottom of this in the next few minutes. So a lot of people these days, because it's approaching Christmas, and by the way, Merry Christmas. I see a lot of people online these days wondering whether or not they should discuss Christmas and Santa Claus with their kids, what they should tell their kids, and so on. And it's only natural as the holiday season is approaching more and more. So, should you tell your kids that Santa Claus isn't real and it's just a made-up story so as to protect him from a future potential disappointment? And the short answer to this is no, I don't think you should do that. I think that by doing that, you're only putting your child in a position to grow up into a bitter, cynical, and resentful adult, which you may as well be, but your kid isn't already, and life will bring enough opportunity for him to grow into that without you adding any fuel to this fire. So don't dismiss the story simply because you don't get the point. So what is the point? Well, the point, I feel, is that the whole story about Christmas, aside from the religious aspect of it, which is really important and you also shouldn't discount, but that's not the topic of today's video. The whole idea of the Santa Claus story is that it is a metaphor, but it's a metaphor that is heavily reliant on a visual representation of a really, really abstract concept, of a really abstract notion. So if we are talking about a child who is of very young age, let's say 2 or 3 years old, you can't really explain to him an abstract notion like trying to be a better person at a certain time of the year for a whole bunch of reasons, to honor the religious holiday, to sort of exercise being a better person, and maybe that will stick to you for the rest of the year. It's much easier to rely on a heavily visual element like the character of Santa Claus. It's way easier for a kid who is 2 years old or 3 years old to understand that a fat guy dressed in red comes down the chimney of a house and brings presents, than to understand some abstract notion like the need to be a better person and so on. Plus, kids when they're 2 or 3 years old are most of the time are really egotistical, and they even if you tried to get to them with this whole being a better person, they wouldn't see the point. So I don't think it's a winning strategy there. So what you can appreciate is that this whole idea of Santa Claus is really is a metaphor, and it's a representation of a really complex concept, and it's a simple representation, it's a simple visual representation of a really complex subject. So the more a person evolves as an individual, the more the more his mind matures and so on, the better he is able to grasp and understand more abstract notions. But it doesn't start out like that. So in the beginning, in infancy and in the first years of a person's life, that small person cannot really understand really complex or abstract notions. So the more practical, the more visual explanation you could give, the better. It's much easier to explain what a chair is than to explain what a complex emotion is, because this need to be a better person is a really complex emotion, and it's superior in nature and really complex to understand and to explain to someone else. So Santa Claus is a metaphor, and what you can do is explain the metaphor by adapting the explanation to the level of understanding of the person that you are talking to, the child. So if you're talking to a child who is 3 years old, you heavily rely on visual cues, on visual elements, the fat guy, red, chimney, presents. The more that child grows and develops as a person and begins to be able to understand more subtleties, more nuances, more abstract ideas, the more you can start to incorporate some other things into the explanation, and those other things start to sort of replace the heavily visual elements. So as the child grows, when he's about 7 or 8 years old, you might want to introduce the idea that the holidays and Santa Claus is also about giving, and a child at that age should be able to understand the idea of giving. Then the child grows up some more, and then when he's 10 or 11, you introduce the idea of persons who are good versus persons who are bad, how they behave, how they should behave, what makes a person a good person, what makes a person a bad person, and so on. And you start introducing all of these nuances, and by the time that you are done, whether or not Santa Claus as a character, as a representation is real or not, is not even a subject anymore. And that's how you sort of protect your kid from being disappointed, not by lying to them. Because if you tell a kid that Santa Claus is real, you're lying to them. But you're also lying to them if you tell them Santa Claus isn't real, because he is real in the metaphorical sense of view. So you're lying either way. If your explanation is this radical, whether he exists or he doesn't exist, that's all. No, that's not all. That's you trying to get away easy with an explanation, but you can't do that. And the more easy you try to get off when it comes to a child, the harder you're making your life to be afterwards, because kids are really good at detecting BS from adults. And if you have children, you know this. If you're trying to BS a child, he will catch on to it. He might not necessarily be able to call you out on it, because he might not be able to exactly put into words what's wrong, but he senses that something's wrong and he knows that you're BSing him. So don't do that, because it affects your relationship with your child. It affects the trust that the child has in you. And you don't want to do that as a parent. You want to encourage and empower your child to think, to act, and to be to be as brave as possible. You don't want to instill in him depression and cynicism, because those go against every positive human impulse that there is. So you don't want to do that. You need to constantly be adapting your language to the level of understanding that your child exhibits. And if you're not sure about the level of understanding that your child has, you can just feel out the circumstance and see if you try to explain a more complex notion and he seems a bit puzzled and confused, okay, go back a step and explain it a little bit more in a more simple way. And if he responds positively to that, then okay, that's where he is right now, and you move on from that. So it's not that hard. You just need to pay attention, and you just need to be present in the conversation with the child, present in the moment, and really connect to him on a real in a real way. So that's why Santa Claus is an important topic to discuss with your child. That's why it's an important topic to address as a parent. And as a parent, you always are faced with these challenges to adapt and to find solutions to address certain situations when it comes to your child. And you grow into a better person by coming up with these solutions. You grow as a person, and you develop new abilities that you might not even have dreamed that are possible. So it's worth doing it. It's worth doing it for your child, but for yourself as well. So don't miss this opportunity, and talk to your kids about Santa Claus. But just be careful about how you structure the whole conversation, and make sure that you get your that you do your homework, and that you get your ideas in order before you go into the talk. Because if you try to wing it, your child will catch on to it, and he will call you out on it, and it will not feel good. That's all for now. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to hit subscribe, ring the notification bell, and also share, because sharing helps a great deal more with the algorithm and with getting all these videos watched by as many people as possible. It helps more to share than to just subscribe. Thank you for watching. Happy holidays, everybody. Bye.